I'm beach fishing with a personalised Burley system. Hi, my name's Roger Osborne. Today I'm down at the beach and I am burleying in a different manner, which is actually really awesome, and it tailors it right to your bait. And during this video, I'll explain how it works. I'll show you the bait I'm using, my rigs, etc., so that you're able to learn and enjoy it as well. Stick around to the end for a free PDF download, which will outline some vital keys from today's session. If you're enjoying these videos, I love to hear about it. I read most of the comments and I really appreciate the feedback that I get. Also, if you haven't subscribed already, please do and hit the notification bell. Let's start fishing. Whatever type of fishing that you're doing, burleying it definitely gives you the X factor and can help attract fish to where you are fishing. I do it with most of the types of fishing that I do, and I have different ways of burleying off the beach, but the way I'm showing you today really keeps it right in the zone because it's part of your rig. So I actually have here a little burley cage which is attached to my sinker, and I'm going to press some pilchard through into that cage so that I have some pilchard acting as burley next to my sinker. On this particular line, I'm going to fish with a beach worm, but I've got a second rod. On the other rod, I'm going to have the pilchard burley, and I'm going to use half a pilchard for bait. So I'll have a burley pot on each of my rods, one with worm, one with pilchard, and we'll just see what difference that makes. So I've got some pilchard here. I'm going to crush it into this little burley cage, then I'm going to whack my worm on and throw it out. So you can see here, this is a homemade burley cage. It's made by a friend of mine actually, and I'm pushing the pilchard, I'm mushing bits of pilchard inside this burley cage. Look at that, that's all pretty, it's going in there quite well. Just shoving it inside. Now when I cast it, obviously when this hits the deck, some of the burley's going to come out, but some of it will remain in the burley cage. Looks nice and messy, doesn't it? But look, look at that, that's just full of meat now. Full of mushy pilchard meat, which should make a big difference. The fish are going to be sniffing around this and trying to bite it. Maybe a shark will swallow it. Look at that. So undoubtedly when that hits the water, some of that's going to come off in the vicinity where it lands. That looks pretty meaty, doesn't it? Now I'm going to whack a worm bait on. So even though I'm burleying with some pilchard, I'm going to use worm for bait. If a tailor comes along, that won't be very exciting, but everything else would be okay. Pilchard would certainly burley brim and salmon and tailor and mulloway and trevally. Even mullet, believe it or not, are attracted by, when I'm beach worming, the amount of times that mullet comes sniffing around my feet when I'm waving pilchard around is incredible. Now I've noticed that there's a little bit of weed out there near the shore, but I think it should be all right. There's not like heaps of weed in the water, so I'm reasonably confident it's not going to be too much of a nuisance. So I'm going to toss this one out and set it, then I'll come back and get my other line ready with the pilchard bait. I want to make sure that I whack this pole into the sand fairly deep, because if something decent pulls the rod, I don't want it to fall over. So I'm just giving it a bit of a wiggle. Someone suggested the other day that I bring a rubber mallet down, which is not a bad idea. There you go. So that's in place. Just got to wash my hands, they're a bit messed up from all that pilchard. It's lovely looking water down here. Just noticed there's a few bits of weed floating around on the edge. Plenty of depth of water, and there's a bit of a sandbar out the back. You'd have to be pretty confident you're going to get some fish here. Just test my drag. All right, out goes the burley pot. Just going to walk out a little bit. Perfect. I noticed a tiny bit when I cast it then, I noticed a tiny bit of that burley fly off, but most of it stayed on, which is because it's kind of wound up inside that metal coil. I'm tempted to hold on to this and not put it in the rod holder for a minute because I may get a bite quickly. So I just hold on to it for maybe a minute or so. So this is my second rod. I've loaded the burley cage with pilchard. Now I'm going to use a half pilchard for bait, and I'm using the setup where I've got a stinger hook and a main hook. So I'm going to put the main hook through the pilchard first near the tail. I'll pull it all the way through the pilchard to the other side, and then I'll pin it in the thick part of the pilchard. So I'm going to pin that hook there, just pull that little bit of slack line through so the hook is sitting nicely in the pilchard. Then I'm going to slide my stinger hook, and I'm going to just pin this little hook in the tail of this pilchard, just push it through with my thumb, just pin it there like so. It's amazing how many fish get caught by that little hook in the tail. Then I'm putting a little half hitch over the top to hold it in place. So that's my half pilchard bait, and I have my pilchard burley pot. I've just thrown out my other line that has the worm on it. Looks like it might have a bit of weed on it, so I'm going to chuck this one out and then I'll check that line. Just pinch another 5 metres. Okie dokie. Well, I'll let this one do its thing, and I think I better check my other line because it could be weeded up. Check my worm bait, but it looks like I've got a little bit of weed on the line here. Just shake that off. Hopefully I can shake it off. Well, I've held bottom. I haven't moved. There's not really any current. Oh, it's not going anywhere, that weed, is it? Oh, there it is. It finally came off. Could have some weed on the end as well. But I certainly held my position out there. There's no sideways drift. I think I've just got to get my bait beyond the weed because it's close to the shore. I'm hoping it's only along the edge. Yeah, I've got a bit of weed on the bottom. I've still got my worm bait there. Okay, I'll pull that up. I'm just going to check my burley pot and see if the burley is all gone. It possibly could have, just the sheer winding it in's probably helped disperse burley out there. I left my rod for a moment and I think I had a bite. I haven't got a fish on, but it definitely had a good whack. So I better check it. So I had a definite bite, but it didn't hook itself. Got to get away from those raging waves. I always just test my drag before I put it in the rod holder. I don't measure it with a set of scales, it's just by feel, but you want fish to be able to pull line out if you hook a big fish, but not too easily. Alrighty. Aha, that's a fish. Look at that. Yeah, I think we're on. Goodness me. Yep. All right, this is my beachworm bait, which I just chucked out. Let's see what it is. It's got a bit of weight in it. Interesting. It feels a bit salmony, but I'm not sure. I'm going to walk down to the edge. Interesting. It hasn't jumped. It is kind of knocking its head, a bit like a trevally or a salmon. Okay, it's coming towards me pretty quick. Okay. Right, it's already right near the shore here. Yep. Yep, it's the usual culprit. It is a nice fat salmon. Okay, well the burley pot is empty and I've got a nice fat salmon, so that's positive. Although he's kicking his tail everywhere and tangling that up. Got to untangle that pot off him, I don't want to make a mess of that. There you go, beautiful. Just as the sun's setting. These are such a handsome fish. They really are a great fish. One of the things that I was a little concerned about with those pots is that the burley, with the effort that you put into a cast, that the burley might just spray out of the coil, but it doesn't. It holds in really well. I think the concept of incorporating the burley and the sinker in one package is good, because you attach your sinker to the burley, little burley pot with a clip, and it's all part of one thing. It does lend itself to better to using a paternoster style rig, where you have that on the bottom and your hook up above it. I think that's the way I would prefer to fish it. You could try having a bait down underneath it. That's something I'll probably test, but I got my bait back from that salmon. You can see that's how the worm came out of the salmon. Almost perfect, not quite. So I've reloaded my burley bomb and I'm going to chuck this back out with a worm bait. The water's fairly deep in front of me, and there is white water out the back. I'm pretty much just putting in a medium strength cast just straight out because there's plenty of depth of water. I can't quite reach the sandbar the way that I'm set up, but I don't think that matters too much. I still always try and steal a few extra meters on the shore. I wait for a tiny break in the waves and I walk as close as I can to the edge just to make sure that I'm getting right out there in the deep water. So that was pretty good. Certainly out there where all sorts of things could be prowling around. Let's just see how long it takes to get a bite. It's gone slack and it's on the shore. When your line goes slack like that, the waves catch onto it pretty easily and it gets washed around. It may have had a bite that washed it towards the shore a little bit, so I think I need to check it. It's a lovely time of the afternoon. That sun is it's not that far from setting really. Alrighty, so my pilchard bait and my burley are pretty much both done. Just a tiny little bit of the bait left. I think I'll hold on to this one this time. I reckon that you might have times where a shark will just swallow that burley cage. Or something that's got a big enough mouth will just eat it. That's a bite. Oh, I was holding onto that pilchard one, but I got a bite on the worm. What's going on? Is that a fish or is it weed? What is it? There's not much fight in this if it's a fish. Oh yeah, it's definitely a fish. Couldn't tell at first. So is it another salmon or is it something different? So this is the worm bait again. Yeah, it's doing a sideways run, which is, here it goes. Yep, coming into the edge. Only a small one, look at that. It's salmon plus weed. Oops. Oh, there, it came off the hook. I think it's got one. Yeah, I think I got a fish. I'm just trying to load this burley cage. Yeah, definitely something going on there. Oh, I'm covered in blood and pilchard. Oh. Really need to wash my hands. Oh well, this can all get washed when I get home. So this one is on the pilchard bait. I've reloaded my other burley cage and I've got another worm bait on the other line. Okay, so he's not that big either, this guy, I don't think. He's another small salmon. So this is another small salmon. You can see he's been hooked by that, that's a 3.0 octopus hook. 3/0 size octopus. That guy would make a really good live bait for something big, hey? I'm not sure what the legal limit for salmon is. I know that the bag limit is 5 in New South Wales. But those little ones, I reckon, would be really sweet. Yeah, off he goes. Oh well, I'll swap this over and chuck my other one back out again. This burley cage still has some burley in it. Even after the fight, or even after landing that fish, I actually squashed the pilchard's head down inside the cage because I thought that's a good idea. It holds it in really well. So you've got the scent of the pilchard and that head jammed in there. Obviously all the bits of flesh came out. But I also did the same thing with this one. I jammed the head in as well. I'm looking forward to when the weather warms up. I had a bite then, hang on, it's come towards me. I got a hit as soon as I hit the water that time. I hadn't actually put it in the rod holder yet. I think that, you know, having all that burley out there can certainly make a difference getting the scent out in the water to attract the fish. This feels like another small salmon. We'll just see. Yeah, it's a similar size to the last one. They love those worms. Gotcha. He's only lipped. I think I wouldn't mind keeping another salmon, but I'd wait till I get a bigger one. He needs a bit more water. He'll be right now. You watch, he'll go. Woo! I'm all by myself on the beach again. Beautiful afternoon, but no one around. So I think this is the first time that I've used a wire burley cage attached to a sinker, but I quite like it. I think using the head, jamming the head down into the top of the cage is a good idea, because that will really wedge and stay in there. And then pushing the flesh into all of the other parts of it. Look, that looks pretty messy, doesn't it? But but the idea is once it gets out there that it just disperses bits of flesh as it sits there as the water washes past it. So yeah, look at that. A nice gutsy piece of burley. You know what's really good when you're a fisherman and you mush up burley and you got old prawns or something like that, then you just rinse your hands in the water and eat a ham sandwich. I used to think, would you get sick sometimes if you've been doing that, but I've never ever got sick. I've done so much fishing and I'll play with the bait and then eat a piece of chicken. Easy. The tide's coming in. Got him. I was just putting my other bait on, but I had to run over to the rod. Ooh. It's really good looking water out there. There's obviously a lot of salmon around, but you can still catch all sorts of other things in this type of spot. Well, there must be a school of small salmon out there. I think this one will be going to the table because he swallowed the hook. I just checked online and there's no legal size limit for salmon at all. It's just blank. So you can keep them at any size, basically.
New South Wales.
That's in New South Wales, anyway. Just poking this pilchard into the burley cage. It looks pretty messy, doesn't it? And I've got a pilchard bait on there as well. I'm being mindful not to dangle the burley cage in the water on the edge because I don't want any of that blood and scent to be lost just here. I'd rather it be dispersed out the back. I can see a lot of weed in the water on the edge, but thankfully it looks like it's just running along the edge because I haven't been getting any weed when I toss it out the back. I'm tempted to hold this. I do want to go and get my other line ready, but I'll just hold it for a minute. Now I'm getting a bite. Yep, gotcha. So that only took about, not long, 30 seconds maybe. Just swimming towards me. Coming in with that wave by the looks of it. Where is it? Over there. Now, I think I may keep this guy as well. So I reckon these little ones are, well, it's not that little, it's about 40 centimetres, but I reckon they would be delicious. Can you see all these spots and colours on this salmon? They're really quite beautiful. You know, they're so abundant. I have a friend in Sydney who fishes off the beach on the northern beaches, and about 2 weeks ago he went for a session. He's been learning to catch beach worms, and he caught 5 salmon, I think 3 brim, a couple of whiting. He got about a dozen fishing in total in one session on the northern beaches. So there's actually quite a few salmon on the northern beaches. They're not just down on the south coast, they're right up and down the coast in this area. Perfect spot. While I'm not, with most of my videos, I'm not targeting mulloway, and I only fish for, hang on. Yeah. I was about to say, while I'm not targeting mulloway in these videos, and I'm usually just in daylight hours, I'm sure, I've caught a couple this year, but I'm sure I'm going to get more. Gone down the beach. Here he comes. This one's a little bit bigger. Yeah, this is a more solid fish, this one. Oh, there's been lots of small ones out there, but this one's a bit bigger. I think I might be making a another yellow curry. We really did enjoy the last yellow curry. I did one for one of my videos relatively recently. I did a catch and cook with a yellow curry, and it was so good. So I think this guy is destined for yellow curry. So look, when I'm putting this half pilchard on, I put the first hook all the way through the fish, like so. Really, the hook is just going through the middle of it, the line, then I pin it down the bottom, then it just sits in there nicely like that, and then I get my where's the keeper hook? Yeah, I get my little one, just pin it just beside the backbone, pin it through there like that, and then you do a loop and turn it on the back of itself to create a half hitch like that. Then I've got my burley cage here. I've got the head part of the pilchard. I'm going to try and jam. I might actually put a bit of the flesh in the middle of it and try and jam the head down into it. Yeah, that's good. I'm just pushing the head down into the burley cage there, like that. That's not going to go anywhere. So my general evaluation of these individual little burley cages, I think they're quite good. I think dispersing the scent out there right next to your bait is a great idea. I think having the sinker incorporated in it is really good. I just think my 2 rods today, one's got 20-pound line and one's got 15. The 15-pound line is a little light for casting a star sinker plus a burley cage. I think you'd really want 20-pound line or 25-pound line. Then you're not afraid to put a little bit of muscle into your cast. If you're going to use this, I'd say minimum 20-pound line, probably 25-pound line would be good. I'm going to hold on to this one as well. So I have my other rod, but I've been getting bites very quickly, so. I think I'm definitely better to hold it. Yep, getting a bite already, actually. Oh, that was a big strike, but the line went quite slack then. I don't feel like I've got anything. I thought I did for a minute. I think I've got a weed fish. Yeah. Man, that didn't take any time at all to get a bite then. Really quick. I've still got a bit of bait on there. There's not much bait on it, but I may as well throw this out. Just got the hooks are still in there. So I might as well chuck it out while I go and get my other rod. Probably catch something. Okay. Not sure why there's no one down here. Oh, what's going on there? I think they're trying to eat the burley cage. Yeah, something's whacking a bit. If they're actually grabbing the burley cage, I'm not going to hook them. And not my bait. Oh well, I'm going to leave it out there anyway. What was that? Oh, it's got a fish, I'm sure. Look at it. What's going on? Oh. I thought I probably had no bait left on this. No, actually, I think I've got I think my line's got caught with weed. There's actually a lot of weed on the shore now. Heaps of weed. So my line's been dragged down the beach by the weed. Well, this is the worm bait. I only brought down maybe about a dozen pilchards, maybe 15, so I've used them all. I don't have any left. So I can't put any more burley in my burley cages. I've got plenty of worms though. Yeah, it's on again. The worm does the trick. Although I've caught salmon this afternoon on worms and pilchards on both baits. Have I joined the weed club? Salmon and weed together, maybe. Here it comes. So it's another small salmon. It's been a bit of a mixture in this session of little salmon and big salmon. I reckon that'd make, like I said before, it'd make a great live bait, a salmon like this. I'm going to let this guy go. Just pull the hook out. Oops. Here he is. So we'll watch him swim away. I'll let the water come up here. I like watching them scurry away. Oh, where is he going? Oh, there he goes. They're so quick. Really super quick. If you'd like a free PDF download of some vital keys from today's session, hit the link in the corner or in the description below. Well, I think I might call that quits. I've caught quite a few salmon. I've let a bunch go. I'm taking a few home for dinner, which is great. Look forward to seeing you very soon in another beach fishing adventure.